Hip-hop. Anonymous.
Saturdays.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sapo Saturdays. Got your boy ASAP Froggy, Bingus Frog, Doc Froggleday, and we got a very special guest that we are super excited to tell you guys about.
Scott Page from Pink Floyd is here today. He is the rhythm guitar and saxophone player for some of their stuff, and we are so excited to talk to him. Scott, how are you?
I'm great. What a day with Pro Tools.
Hey, listen, you know what? It wouldn't be a Saturday without some chaos, but we got to embrace the chaos. A-Bomb was telling me this earlier. Sometimes you just got to jump in and embrace the chaos.
Yeah,
Embrace
man.
it.
If things aren't going wrong, then you're not having a good time.
Or you're not pushing yourself, you know what I'm saying? Like you got you got to get out of your comfort zone to be making some moves. So we've definitely ran up against a few of those situations, but hey, look where we are right now, my man.
Yep, there we are. Well, we're here. Looks like we slid in. Hey, you should have the file, hopefully.
Yep. Shiva Poos is going to go ahead and check on that right now, but we'll just hop into a little interview here since you're with us.
Yeah, let's get to know Scott. I want to get to know Scott.
Yeah, let's get to know Scott. Let's get intimate. So I was doing a little bit of research on you, and it looks like you got into music because of your father, Bill Page, who played with the Johnny Carson Band on the Tonight Show, played with Lawrence Welk, and then you, in fact, at 6 years old, played trumpet on the Lawrence Welk Show alongside your dad. Is that right?
That is 100% correct. Yeah, I grew up on, early TV with my father, who was on the Lawrence Welk Show for almost 15 years, I think, 15 years. So I was around TV. I guess I have one claim to fame. I'm the only guy that played on the Lawrence Welk Show and played in Pink Floyd. So that's a pretty interesting twist.
That's a broad spectrum, baby.
So I grew up around music all my life, right? And so, my dad was also a serial entrepreneur. In the music space, we had all kinds of businesses as I was growing up. As I was growing up, we had boat businesses, lighting businesses, candy businesses. We had 26 donut shops at one time, and my father was also one of the inventors of the wah-wah pedal.
Oh, wow.
Guitar pedal. And then he also started a studio, which was called the Vox Sound Lab, which then became Sound City. So for those musicians out there that know Sound City, which was a really very famous studio, one of, Los Angeles kind of claim to fame studios, kind of like, some of the big studios around the world. But, so I've been around this game for a long time, playing a lot of music and trying to be a serial entrepreneur. Now I'm a proud, legendary frog.
Hell yeah.
Your frog is super dope.
Yeah, it is. And we're so excited to have you in the frog family. That was a moment for everyone, I think.
Absolutely. Listening to Pink Floyd just is so iconic and very nostalgic for myself just back in the day, you know what I mean? So
absolutely.
Hats off, and again, just your father's background, your background, I'm sure that it obviously rubbed off on you a little bit. So
well, yeah, and I was going to ask you about that. So your father, it said, was a reed player. So was he a clarinetist, oboe? Did he kind of, go across the spectrum of reed instruments?
Yeah, he actually played 14 instruments. He played not only saxophones, clarinets, flutes, and all of that, but he also played oboe, English horn, and bassoon. So he was kind of a multi-instrumentalist. That was sort of his main thing. And he was a monster player. I mean, it always blows my mind. He could read any piece of music, like no matter how hard it was, what it was, he could read anything. So he was a real serious studio musician.
And was he the one that taught you how to play?
Well, it's actually interesting. I started out as a trumpet player when I was 6 years old, which was funny because my dad, a woodwind player, and I pick up the trumpet, a brass instrument, which he didn't play. So I took it up, but I wasn't very serious about music at all. I did it mostly for him at the time. And I studied to be an architect, and I was a draftsman out of high school right into college. And at that time, just as I got out of high school, I got into a band. Well, actually, I was in high school. I got in a band with Jeff Porcaro and David Page called Merciful Soul Band. And if you know David Page and Jeff Porcaro, they started the band Toto. So we had this kid band that was winning all the battle of the bands. I was the worst guy in the band playing second trumpet. It was like a blood, sweat, and tears Chicago style band. And all of a sudden I realized that we were winning these battle of the bands, and I noticed in the front row there were lots of girls. And I decided, you know what, here I'm sitting in this office drawing all day long, drinking 10 cups of coffee. I said, I think I'm going to be a musician. So I actually flipped my whole model as I just got into college, and I started, I took my drafting skills, because those were the days where you had to draw with a ruler and a pencil. It was different now with all the computers, but so I had a good hand because of that, and so I took up music copying, and I became a music copyist. And that, for those that don't know, that was when the composer would write out the entire score on score paper, and then he would hand it off to me, and then I would write out each individual part, like the trumpet part 1, trumpet 2, trumpet 3, sax, whatever, all those parts. So I put myself through school as a music copyist while I started studying, and really took on music in a serious way. And then later on, I guess I got lucky. I got good enough that I could get into a band. I got called to play with Seals and Crofts. I don't know if you remember them.
Yep.
And I toured with them, and from there it went from band after band through the years. I went from Seals and Croft, and I went to let's see, who else did I played with Diana Ross. I went out with, and then I joined Toto. I was in Toto for a while. Then I got into Supertramp, and then from Supertramp I got into Pink Floyd through those days. So that was my sort of
So let me
progression.
ask you. So I had seen that you did you dabbled with acting. You were on the Hardy Boys for an episode. You were on the Young and the Restless for an episode. But you always played a musician. I'm not going to say you were typecast, but could be.
That's so bad. You did your homework, buddy.
I did.
That's funny. Yes, yeah. So I got lucky. I talk about the Young and the Restless. I did that for about 18 months. The theme of the show was around a guy named Danny Romalotti, and he was a rock and roll star, and I was in his rock and roll band, so I was part of that. I always joke about that. It was like it was a gig that I had I only had to work, like we would go in on a Friday morning, and we'd film 4 shows that would cover for the month. I'd make a bunch of money, which was great, and I didn't have to work much anymore the rest of the month from that gig. So it was it was great. But it was soap operas were funny. But here's a funny story about that if you want to hear something. So we're in Germany with Floyd, and we're going through customs, and I'm standing there in line, and Dave Gilmour's right behind me, Nick Mason's behind him, and the band's there. And I walk up to the security guy there, the guy checking all the bags and stuff, and he looks up at me and he points at me, he goes, "You!" He says, "I know you. And then I thought he was going to say, "Oh, you're the saxophone player in Pink Floyd." And he goes, "No, you're the guy from The Young and Restless." Right? And I laugh, and he goes, "Okay, you can go through." Right? So he just pushes me through. He didn't check my bags. And then he went through every bag of Gilmour.
That is so
everybody.
funny.
So everybody laughed because it was here. You would think Pink Floyd would have got us through, but no, it was The Young and the Restless. So
that's amazing.
I don't know if you watch Entourage at all, but one of the characters had this show, Viking Quest, that for the life of him, he could not get off the ground in the U.S., but he goes to other countries, and he's like the biggest star ever. So that's very funny. Just random actor on a random soap opera. That's great. But
Crazy.
yeah, so how did you make the jump? Like between that time of doing those appearances and then in '83 when you get to Supertramp's Famous Last Words tour, how did you get to that point? What was like the in that kind of got you performing with those guys?
Yeah, my whole thing and I try to tell every artist, I take every gig I can possibly take. I didn't care if it paid or not, because I always felt that it was important to just be out in the marketplace and playing, and you would never know who would show up. And I would, play all these gigs, and even gigs that were, if they were a good gig, no money, I'd be there because I wouldn't know. So I used to play this gig at a place called, what was it called? Josephina's. And we played every Sunday and Monday. We're kind of the house band there. And this guy used to come in the back and sat there for all the time. And I'd see him there every week, and he'd be sitting there. So I walked up to him, and I kind of started talking to him. And I said, "What do you do?" And he says, "Oh, I'm the drummer, and I'm Supertramp, and we're making a record right now." And I said, "Okay, great." Talked to him. Got to meet. It was Bob Siebenberg. Then a few years later, I got a call out of the blue, it was Bob. I was actually in Vegas with Diana Ross, and I got the call, and Bob called me and said, "Yeah, we're looking for somebody for the band." And so I flew over there on. It was a Wednesday, was our day off, and I flew to Los Angeles, auditioned, and got the gig. And so it's just, you never know. It comes through friends, through other musicians. It's just kind of word of mouth.
It reminds me of something I've said on the show before, which is luck is hard work meeting opportunity. And that's exactly what that is. You put in the work, you show up even to the shows that you don't think are going to pay well or aren't going to be big audiences because you're just putting yourself out there and putting yourself in a position to succeed. And it's just about, that moment, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all about, my whole thing is I just love to play, right? So I would play whenever I could, anytime. Always try to do my best, play as hard as I can, and just put it out there, right? So that's really it. I mean, all my gigs, all the things that have come out were really about getting into the communities and finding and getting to know people. It's, it's all about influencing influencers and getting people around you to talk about you, and hopefully you get some gigs, and it pays off after a while.
No, I think that's awesome, man. It's like, I have a question as far as like you're coming up and rising as a musician, and I've played music for a long time, and I've sort of like been fearful. There's fear associated with putting yourself out in that way, and I became exposed to some musicians that I was filming for and traveling with, and something that they said that I've said on this show before as well is like that has stuck with me is speaking from and making decisions out of a place of love rather than fear. So along your journey, did you have any experiences like that with fear and overcoming fear that could sort of inspire other musicians that are listening now that may be facing that?
Wow, that's a very, very interesting question. Yeah, I mean, there was definitely times, you get nervous, especially. I mean, I can tell you one time it was incredible fear. I was, obviously I was studying like crazy, practicing, 10 hours a day and taking lessons and learning. And I finally got called to go do a record date. And it was a record date with all of my heroes, like guys that were my they were like gods to me, right? These were the guys. I couldn't believe it. I got called to go do this date.
Who were some of the people?
I got so scared. I got so scared because I didn't want to make any mistakes. I started to panic, right? So we started to play the tracks, and the first thing that happened was I started making mistakes, right? And here I'm with these guys, and they're like going, "Dude, you got to get this together. We got to get out of here. We got another session in another hour. We got to finish this." And I'm like, the panic, and the fear. So it basically took me over, right, at that time. And that was traumatic to me at the time because of playing with these guys. So from that experience, I really started to take a different look. I started taking taking an inward journey to try to figure out what happened there. Because once that takes over you, it's crazy, right? I mean, the adrenaline goes through your body. You completely lose track of everything, and you don't seem to be able to think.
You can't feel.
For me,
that's what music is
for
about.
me, the big thing that changed my life is taking an inward journey. Because my favorite subject on the planet is consciousness,
right?
And that's all truthfully, that's all I care about. That's all that we're here for. All of us is here to help consciousness unfold. You blink, you're 50. You blink, you're on your deathbed. It's that fast. Time is a total illusion. So because of that experience, it forced me to start looking differently at things. I just started to get into meditation, started to think more about that, and really was not letting fear basically changing my point of view from being the thinker to being the watcher, right? Because there's this crazy thing that goes on in your mind. There's kind of how, let me explain. Let me kind of go back. Let me go back for a second. As you start to take a look, as you start getting these, things that happen to you that can be really kind of devastating, they force you to take a different look at yourself, right? And then you start to realize that, wait a minute, who's looking? Right? You start to see your thoughts, and you start to visualize that, and you start to see it, and you go, wait, I'm really not the thinker, I'm the watcher. Inward journey, and realizing not identifying with the thought is really key to overcoming fear, because you can see the fear and instead of being the fear. I don't know how else to explain it, because I try to tell everybody that the only thing that's real right now is us talking, right? That's it. Everything else is an illusion. 5 minutes ago is illusion. 5 minutes from now is illusion. So
here now.
as you sit down and you're walking, you go into a state of fear. Oh, I'm in fear. And then when you start to be able to watch yourself, watch your thoughts, you go, wait a minute, I'm standing here in this room right now with a cup of coffee in my hand. Why am I fearful if this is the only thing that's real? So fear is something that starts going on in your mind and your stuff. So the thinking of basically separating your thoughts from a more of a conscious point of view, where you're kind of watching your thoughts, and that's when you realize, was there two of me? It's kind of strange.
Well, and then you realize that you're the dust mite on the piece of salt on the cosmic pretzel, and then you really start freaking out.
I know, it's strange, but it really is. I think the fear is really more about getting rid of it. Is really more about really understanding who you are and what you're being fearful of. It's a crazy thing. It's hard to explain, but that, taking that inward journey, getting into meditating, really starting to watch my thoughts, becoming more of the watcher, living in the watcher language as opposed to the thinking side of things. Yeah. That really got the fear to go away, because there's nothing to fear other than fear itself. That's the thing.
You remind me of this old Buddhist proverb. I love it because it's simplistic yet like divine in that way, and it's essentially there's a lake that has a bunch of small waves crashing against each other, nothing huge, but causing a ripple on top of the surface, and you're in a boat and there's something shining beneath in the water that you can see, but the waves keep you from actually seeing what it is. The waves are your thought. What is below is like the pearl of bliss. So if you can calm your thoughts and essentially, like kind of what you're saying, separate yourself from that element, you will sort of, be more of a watcher than stuck in this chaotic, almost storm of waves.
And that's such an interesting response, because I was literally talking to my girlfriend about it 2 days ago, to be like, I want to be able to watch my thoughts. I don't want to feel them. I just want to be able to like look at it and be like, oh, that's what I'm feeling. That's cool. I'm just going to move past it now. And and I was going to ask what helped that, but you kind of already answered that in meditation and in the language you use.
Here was the thing that really made this work for me. I had read, I became a fanatic as far as consciousness, reading books. I read this, a lot of people probably know the book, The Power of Now. I read that book like 60 times in a row, and I listened to him read that book to me, Eckhart, read it for 2 years in my car. And what's interesting, every time you read it, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. But one of the things that I learned was this concept. I read a book and it said, okay, every time you can think about, get up the next day, your entire day, just as you're walking around, as often as you can, stop yourself and put all your attention where you are at that moment. Where am I? I'm standing right now. I'm in my living room. Every cell of my body is in this living room. Stop stilling my thoughts as much as possible. And then ask this question. What am I feeling right now? Am I feeling any anxiety, tension, or fear? If I'm feeling any anxiety or tension or fear, and there's not a lion chasing me or something physically happening to me, I'm really identified with a thought. And every time you do that, you wake up just a tiny bit, because the whole idea is to flip from the thinker to the watcher. So this exercise, the first day that I did this, I couldn't even do it once. I got in bed that night and I went, I was so asleep, I couldn't even ask that question once, because I was like, oh, my email, I'm over here, I'm running here, I got to do this, I got to do that. And you never are paying any attention to the present moment. You're paying attention to the future and the past. Right? Your attention is all there. What's going to happen later? Where am I going? All that kind of stuff. So every time you do this. So the next day, I said, I'm going to do it again. I got up and I did it a couple times. I could stop myself. I was aware enough to say, where am I? Do a couple times. And then I said, okay, that's it. So I put stickers all around my house that said, wake up. So if I opened my cupboard to go get a cup for coffee, there was a sticker that said, wake up. I would stop and I'd put my attention, ask what I'm feeling. And just all you do, once you do that, you start to realize that all that anxiety and fear is being identified with thinking.
So
I'm all about the thinking. I'm believing the movie that's in my head, when the reality is I'm standing here with a cup of coffee.
Yeah. I dig it.
Yeah, no,
you just got to start telling yourself a different movie.
Yeah, a different movie. Yeah, right. Also, you got to know that it's a movie. Yeah. And then what?
No, go for it.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go for it.
And I was saying, then what happens? The more you do this, you start to be. You constantly are watching your thinking. So it's like what I try to tell people: the only step that matters is the one you're taking right now, because that's the only one that's real.
That's right.
Everything else, think about that. I mean, that's a trippy concept when you think about it.
It
Because
really
you can say,
is.
oh, how can that be? You're not real. What's this? Then even if you think about the Heisenberg principle, you start getting the quantum, nothing's there until you've seen, right?
We've gone down that rabbit hole.
Oh, Scott, if you want to talk quantum Higgs boson, how that's given us, the 3D effect right now and the quantum entanglement, you want to go there, baby?
Baby.
I'll go there with you.
It gets deep, right?
Oh, yo, I have parallel universes, the wormholes, black holes,
A-Bomb here was born in a wormhole.
the event horizon. You can't get past it. The infinite density in an infinitely small space.
Let's just say in 2019, A-Bomb and I had some very in-depth, let's say, intellectual thought processes about.
That's a good way of putting it.
Well, you think about it, the Unreal Engine is really closest to what's actually happening, right? If you think about it, because
It's crazy.
The pixels draw when the screen moves, right? When you're moving around, right? So it's almost that same kind of concept in a way, right?
Well, it's interesting because the universe is watching us. Like one of those famous physicist sayings is that the universe created humans so it could watch itself. Because when we're looking at these quantum molecules, these tiny little pieces that make up larger forms of matter, sometimes when we look away they do stuff, but when we're watching them they stop. So they're aware of something there. And I mean we'll go down that one. Scott, I'd love to have you on for the science show for Sapo next Saturday. I got Bingus over here looking at me like, why are we talking about
music? Let's
I'm
go
just
back to
joking.
music.
I'm just throwing.
I was actually going to tie it all back to the music because I was going to ask you. So you met David Gilmour because he was playing guitar on the same Supertramp record that you were playing flute on after that famous Last Words tour. Did you guys connect not just on a musical level but on a spiritual level? Because you sound like a very spiritual person. I would imagine, just based on the feeling from the music of Pink Floyd, that those guys are spiritual guys. I could be wrong.
Nah.
But did you guys connect on that level as well?
I don't was some, but not real. I would say again, I don't know where. Maybe Dave's taken a different path since then. Not a lot. Let's put it that way. It wasn't a lot about that, but there was definitely some. But Gilmour for me he was my guru, right? I mean, he taught me the master about melody, right? It's all about the melody. He was like a singer. He plays. Because if you think about it, if you listen to like Comfortably Numb and you listen to the guitar, if the guitar solo isn't in the middle of that record, you feel like you left out a verse.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Everybody can understand the melody that he plays, the musicality. When I was playing back in the day more, in those days, I'd be playing all these kind of notes and stuff. And then I watched Gilmour go ba-da, da-da-da-da-da. And I said, oh my God, that's it. I could see people would connect because they try to play melodies. So I kind of changed my whole playing style around him based on trying to be more lyrical, more musical in the sense of playing music like a singer as opposed to playing music like a jazz guy, right? There's different types of stuff because I'm really more of what I would call a stylist of a saxophone player. I try to play, kind of wear my own clothes, try to not sound exactly like anybody else. When everybody else is going ba ba da ba da ba ba da, I'm going ba 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 ba. Right? I play kid chords, kid music, and that's been my style. But yeah, Dave is, I love that guy. I mean, he's very, very, very smart. Incredibly musically gifted, and the sound, the tone, everything about Dave is incredible.
So I mean, that must have been an amazing moment then when he approaches you to be part of the band.
Well, yeah, it was very interesting because here's the funny story. So he came out and he did the Supertramp record, and that night I had a gig. I have this band called the Hang Dynasty with guys from Jeff Baxter from the Doobie Brothers and Lee Sklar, who was playing with Phil Collins at the time. It was just kind of an all-star music band, and we were playing right down the street from Rick Davies' house where his studio was, where we were doing the album with Dave. So I invited him down that night, and he come down and hung out and played and all that stuff. And so I had an event going on the next week called the First Dance. It was a whole event, a gig that I was doing at Guitar Center, where I took over Guitar Center, and I'd been working on this concept called visual sound, using zooming microphones and these MIDI-based tripod systems we developed, so that you could, the idea of putting sound in picture. Because I always thought it was great when I'm standing next to Gilmore. It just, nobody ever gets to feel that, right? Except for me. So I was trying to figure out, how can I capture that feeling and be able to translate that to a computer, or to a visual, or to a video. So I was working on all that stuff at the time. So I had this event that week come down. I had this 50-piece band with all the guys from Toto and the Tower Power horns and all the Supertramp guys. We did this. So Dave came to that next week, and he heard me do this show and play. And then, so the next day I got a call to go put solos on the record. So I went to the session, and I ended up putting solos on a couple tunes. And so a couple days later, I get this call, and it's Dave calling me up, and he's going, "Hey, we're going out. We want you to join the band. And I went, "Let me think about it, Dave," because here was the interesting part. I knew nothing about Pink Floyd.
Really?
I knew nothing. I knew zero. About Pink Floyd.
That's even
other
cooler.
than hearing a song called "Have a Cigar." Because remember, as a saxophone player, it's not really saxophone music to think about when you think of Floyd. I'm into Junior Walker and King Curtis and Fathead Newman and Lockjaw Davis. I'm listening to all these sax guys, right? That was where my
shit.
my
I just
attention
thought everyone had seen The Wall.
No, I was totally in a whole nother genre of music.
That's
and
so
hadn't
funny.
paid. So I, here I'm telling David, let me think about it. I'll get back to you, right? So I call a friend of mine up and I go, hey, dude, I the other day I played on this Pink Floyd record. He says, what? You played on a Pink Floyd record? I said, yeah, I went and did a session. I put solos on this record. And he was like, holy crap, that's crazy. And I said, then the guitar guy, he says, you mean David Gilmour? I said, yeah, David Gilmour. He called me up and he wants me to join the band. He wants me to join the band. He says, dude, you're going to do that, right? I said, no. I said, I don't know much about it. So he said, you have to do that gig. You got to take that, right? And I said, well, they want to go out for 2 years on this first leg. It's like leaving for 2 years. That's a big commitment, right? For something that I didn't really know much about. So I ended up going to Tower Records because it was open to, 24 hours back in the day. So it was like 2:00 in the morning. I picked up, went down to the records, came back, listened, and then ended up taking the gig. And boy, am I glad I did that.
Yeah, I bet. Holy shit. That's unbelievable.
Man, that's wild.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That is crazy. Listen, there's a couple of more things I want to talk to you about, but before we get into that stuff, I do want to play a little bit of music. So Shai Papoose here sent a loop over to you that you jammed with, which was very exciting for him and for all of us that you took the time to do that. So truly an honor. Very, very cool. And we're going to go ahead and play that for the audience now.
Okay. Yeah, just before you do that, I didn't get a chance to really mix it. I was having so much problems with my system, and I just cranked it out there. So
that's fine.
We'll definitely make a better version of it. We'll get it together, but at least you get the hang of it.
Yeah, that's why it's a scratch track.
Exactly. This is called Sapo Saturdays. Scratch Track Saturdays is another name for it, and we're just getting tracks together that ultimately can be polished. But right now, it's just about feeling it out.
It's just the ideas,
Cool.
All right, so let's give that a
Here
spin.
we go.
Holy shit, that was awesome!
Wow.
It sounds a little funky coming over Clubhouse. It's like all saxophone and no band. But anyway, you get the idea. It was a bunch of noise. We made some noise on that
Yeah,
track.
man,
yeah.
that's awesome, man.
Very cool.
If you
That-
can send
that
me
map-
stems, like we could have our mixer mix it as
Yeah,
well. Our
yeah.
engineer.
I was just about to say.
Yeah, I'll send you the stems, and you guys can play with it, mix it up. And
Good old
I'll do a
Zen mix.
handful more. I got a couple more of your tracks. I just, because of the problems I was having, I didn't have a chance to put any other on. But I'll do that.
Yeah,
I'll
man.
send them
Awesome.
to you.
The fourth one is still in like the same genre, kind of, maybe a little bit of a different vibe, but maybe. Yeah, awesome, man. I appreciate
So
that.
let's give some context to what just happened, though, to everyone in the audience. So, Shia, do you want to explain sort of the step-by-step process that happened to bring that beat to life?
Yeah, I just again, just kind of feel, man. Just sit, play music, feel,
Right,
find
but
a drum beat.
I think he's talking about beyond the feelings, the technical process of, you built the track from several stems, and were you playing real instruments? Was it stuff that you were pulling from the program? How did that work, putting that together?
Yeah, like all the guitars, I played at several loops. I heard a couple different loops as well that you added, Scott. Not just like one saxophone. There was a couple playing, right? At one
Was
point?
there? That was probably because they weren't muted.
Okay. Yeah, there was one point where there was like two, like one playing in the background, but it sounded cool. I was like, that's dope that he did that.
That's funny.
Let's see.
But see, that's also the fun part about this is that when we get to this point where the stems can be purchased and played with on these marketplaces, and individuals are able to do what they please with them, and the artist that created them gets paid for that. That is something where we're breeding hopefully a whole new generation of music that would have never come to life.
Yeah. That's what I love about NFTs, the whole concept. I mean, when people start to really grasp what NFTs are, I mean, they're programmable, they're experiences, but the cool part is you can build business models on them.
Exactly.
Right?
So
Because that's what's so great. I can pass the rights, roles, and permissions over to you to go create. The blockchain will manage the royalties and stuff.
Precisely.
I mean, obviously there's cross-chain issues still, but all that stuff's going to get fixed. But in general, the concept of NFTs for me is truly freedom. I mean, it's freedom for the people like we've never seen before, where we basically have an opportunity to take back the power of the control of the currency. And, I mean, NFTs to me are the biggest thing that's come along for the artists. And I love what you guys are doing with this. And, because what's nice is other people can make money with the stuff that we're making at the same time, and we can power the communities with it, right? It's killer.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And giving people a place to start, because some people are like, damn, man, I can't find a melody. Like they have trouble creating melodies, but maybe if they come to Sapo Studios Marketplace, they scroll through some tracks. And they're like, I love this melody. They download it. They have the stems. We all kind of win together.
Yeah, and even more so on top of that, like other elements that go into that, which is obviously a lot of artists struggle to find placement for their music at times. There's been bands that we've worked with. I've seen their music be placed on, what was that show, Shameless and whatnot. That's because they had, people to find that placement for them. We're also we want to do a lot, to say the least, and this is only the beginning. And NFTs absolutely open a completely new window and world for people to actually exercise these creative rights, if you will.
Yeah, it's so great to be on this edge right now with everybody. I try to tell everybody when I'm in these things, man, anybody that are in these rooms, man, we're the pioneers right now.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Right? And like I said, we're at a moment in time where we get to take the power back. The people. This is the people's movement, and I love the communities, and I'm so thankful to be here. Ed's my brother. I love that guy is so smart. I enjoy so much hanging out with him, and we're the OGs. We've been doing this all for a long time, and finally there's a mechanism now that is going to change the whole game. It's funny. I had somebody say, "Oh yeah, the metaverse stuff. It's all we did that back in Second Life." I said, "Yeah, but you didn't have NFTs then."
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's a whole different game. That changes the whole ball game.
Yeah. And people yesterday. Yeah.
Right?
People literally yesterday at my job saying like, "Oh, like you're owning nothing. You're just owning a picture. You own nothing." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "You're gonna miss out on June 18th."
Oh boy, I mean, it's so crazy because they don't realize. Again, it's the business model. It's what you own is the rights, roles, and permissions and stuff, so that you can build upon it and create other things if you want. I mean, again, it's like, you know, I came out of CD-ROM world, right?
I think he got rugged.
Oh, did we lose Scott?
Yes, Scott. Oh, there you are. I think you're getting a little bit of connection issue, Scott. You want to start over from the top?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, you know, I come out of what I love about NFTs is I came out of early days of CD-ROM, right? I had a company called Seventh Level. We took it public, and it was all based on, you know, interactive entertainment. So I built my favorite thing is I did a project called Toonland, which was considered the world's first interactive cartoon with Howie Mandel. I produced it with another guy, Richard Merrick, and directed it. And we put that together. But the thinking behind interactive entertainment and all the branching and how you create experience, because that's what all this stuff is about. That's what NFTs are. They're experiences, right? They have so much power to them. It's just, for me, it's almost like I'd already done this, you know, 30 years ago. It feels like home to me, because it's the exact type of thinking what NFTs allow you to do is this whole experience, interactive kind of way of creating content and doing things. So
exactly,
I'm just so pumped on this whole space, man.
Yeah.
I feel like a kid again, because it is so on fire. And, you know, we're going to go through some rough times right now, right? It's going to be crazy, but us, the builders, the people here that are actually in this, well, this is not going away.
As they say, it's always darkest before the dawn. So
that's right.
You know,
there you go.
We'll see some good times. But I do want to continue talking about some of this NFT stuff. I just want to go back to this track real quick. So,
okay,
Shay, can you go ahead and isolate the stems that you have here and kind of walk us through whether they're real instruments or if that was something that you used from the system?
Yeah, so basically the only place I started from the system was a drum groove, and this is the groove I picked on, and then I sort of cut up the drum phrases so they were different, so it wasn't the same phrase the whole time, and I added a couple drops so the drum beat goes away and then comes back. To kind of like emphasize the drop, sort of like right here. And then from there, find that groove and started adding guitar parts. And there's only 3 guitars that I played. Funk is all about the groove, man. It almost doesn't even matter like what notes you're playing in funk, as long as you have like a groove to it and a feel. Like, it doesn't really matter. It's just as long as you're like moving and feeling like a beat, and like you're not playing like, you know, entirely dissonant notes that don't make any sense together. I think that there's people can sing that, kind of like he was saying. Like, the notes are singable. I'm not playing like a million notes trying to like shred all over the track. And then just from there, found a top line that just kind of like beefed it up a little bit. And that's what I spent Scott.
That's awesome. So
from
you
there,
put that all together in Logic, is that correct?
Yep.
So that's something that, you know, we've talked about with our audience. You guys can use GarageBand to do something like this if you are just getting started. GarageBand comes free with your Mac. You can download all kinds of cool plugins and all sorts of cool things that you can do with the tracks. But this is accessible to anyone. So you can go on, you can play with this stuff. You can, once, you know, our marketplace opens, you can buy a stem and start to experiment with stuff that's already made and start, you know, noodling around with adding your stuff on top of that.
Start playing with Scott Page's sax rips, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
On top of that, I just wanted to say as well, we're probably going to be doing in the future some tutorial breakdowns on sort of how we have this whole setup streaming to you guys. You can probably hear that our voice are nice and crisp. And that being said, we can walk you through. I've heard certain spaces with music NFTs where, you know, an individual wants to showcase their music, and, you know, Twitter is either rugging them hard or the sound is peaking and whatnot. So we can sort of give you all a walkthrough happily as far as how to, you know, adjust those settings and make it nice and crispy, because we want to hear your tunes. And I feel bad for all the artists that, you know, are like, hey, I'm going to play you this thing, and then it's like,
Does not
and it's
sound
skipping
good. Just dropping out. Yeah.
So let's circle back to the conversation about NFTs. Scott, what do you remember the moment that brought you into the space?
You know, I've been around the crypto space for quite a while. I belong to an organization called METAL, which stands for Media, Entertainment, Technology, Artists, Leaders. It's a group that's been around for about, almost since about 1992. It's run by a guy by the name of Ken Rakowski, and it's really made up, which is funny. It's all these guys that are. It's probably a bunch of the crypto guys. You know, it's Brock Pierce, Michael Turpin, you know, considered kind of the godfather of Bitcoin, and William Quigley, who, you know, started Wax and, you know, Tether and all those things. So I've been around these group of guys that have been in this space for quite a while. And so I've been following it. You know, I watched a little bit of the Crypto Kitties and all of that stuff, kind of that. And then when the NFT thing started to really hit, I was getting hit up from everybody. Hey, man, we want to do your NFTs. We want to sell your NFTs. And so I started talking to different people about it, or getting into it more. And then I just realized, hey, I'm just going to go do this myself. I'm a tech guy. I had tech companies. I built stuff. So I called one of my blockchain buddies, said, hey, let's go do this. How do we go do this, right? So then I ended up partnering with another guy. We went off and we did our first couple NFTs, which were crazy. They were one-ofs, and we had a real great success with one of them. We sold for $1.1 million, believe it or not, which was crazy.
Shit.
And then the next one we did for about $680,000, and then since then we've been doing stuff. And I'm getting ready to launch a whole collection called Rock Money. And Rock Money is a collaboration between myself and a painter artist by the name of Arthur J. Williams. And Arthur J. Williams is very interesting because every painting he does has money in it. And the reason for that is Arthur is considered the world's greatest counterfeiter. And there's actually a big, huge, beautiful book on him, and they're right in the middle of talking about doing a movie right now. But anyway, he became a painter when he ended up getting busted. He went to prison for a while, and while he was there, he got into painting. Since then, he's been painting and doing all these things. And so we're launching the Rock Money collection, which is basically he's taking classic, never before seen photographs. And he was awarded a collection of Rolling Stones photos that have never been seen before, which he started painting. And I said, well, man, I wanted to start taking some of my Floyd photos. So we're taking the Rolling Stones, Pink Floyd, and then I introduced him to a friend, Jamie Weiland, who is Scott Weiland's wife. Scott was the lead singer in the Stone Temple Pilots.
Yeah.
Passed away.
Yeah.
So we've mashed these things together where Arthur's taking these paintings and painting on them. But the whole Rock Money is a movement really about the decentralization of currency and the people taking the power of the currency back in their hands. And we're actually going to be launching this first collection in New York at NYC coming up at
that's
NFT
fantastic.
NYC coming up. So, yeah, I mean, so once I got into it, but it was interesting just because I was sitting there, thinking about NFTs. Now, I was obviously originally thinking more about, it's this piece of art and it's authenticating and putting on. And I can remember distinctly, I was laying in bed about 4 days after, really thinking, all of a sudden I sat up in my bed and I go, holy shit, everything's going to be NFT. Like every hair salon, clothing store, rock, everything will be NFT'd. I mean, it's just, it's so, it feels so obvious now. So once I really grasped the concept of it, it changed everything. So that it was really I've been in it now for about a year and a half, pretty seriously. And, I just, I love it. It's just such a powerful thing.
It's so funny you saying everything is going to be NFT because my father is a very inquisitive guy when it comes to all of this stuff. We've had him on the show talking a little bit about crypto and trying to get him to understand everything, but he's an attorney. And he says to me about a month and a half ago, he says, okay, well, so if everyone's doing this thing with the NFTs, can we make my law firm into an NFT? Like, how does this work? Can we NFT it?
Yes, we can, Papa Bingus.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So that's the next step is everything is going to be NFT'd. But I do want to congratulate you with Rock Money. That sounds absolutely awesome. Working with Arthur J must be very cool. And I kind of want to circle back also because you mentioned the Stones, and there was something that I came across that you started the Walt Tucker AV post-production company in '87 in Glendale, actually, which is right next to where we're broadcasting out of in Burbank. Shout out Burbank. So that post-production company produced projects for the Stones, amongst other people, Bon Jovi, Janet Jackson, Garth Brooks. So what was the nature of that post-production work?
Yeah, so Walt Tucker was named after my two heroes at the time, Walt Disney and Preston Tucker, the car manufacturer. If you remember the Tucker cars, there was like 32 of them made. Anyway, I just loved their pioneering spirit. So Walt Tucker was a combination of an audio-video post-production house, and I had developed this system called Earmax, which was a kind of a whole new concept of a recording studio. The console was in the middle of the room. The band set up all the way around. They had these special in-ear monitors. All the amps were underneath in the second floor. The whole idea of making it really sound wonderful for the musicians, as good as possible. Because when it sounds really good and you hear yourself well, and you feel like it, you're just inspired, you played better. So I had that post-production house, and then we did like a lot of the post-production. I was working with a company called The Company, and The Company was my friends Kurt Marvis and Wayne Isham, who were big, directors, producers in the kind of MTV space. And we had put a audio-video post-production truck at the facility there, and so we were shooting all these videos, and then we were doing all the audio-video posts. And then actually downstairs, I had a whole merchandising kind of graphics and merchandising business that kind of went along with it. So we were kind of developing, putting, music and pictures, kind of what people are doing now today, but kind of early days of that. But yeah, Walt Tucker was my facility there. It was a great room. I mean, one of the craziest, coolest rooms. The plant was 100 by 50 as a recording studio room. And that was the whole Walt Tucker period. And that's where we started, and I did all the Toonland stuff, and then when we merged, Walt Tucker became
with Howie Mandel, right?
Excuse me?
Was that the Toonland stuff? Was that with Howie Mandel?
Yeah, Toonland. We did Toonland. We did the Great Word Adventure, Great Reading Adventure, and Great Math Adventure with Howie, and then I produced all the co-produced stuff with other guys. It was kind of crazy at that time. We did all the Monty Python series, so I worked with the Pythons for almost 18 years.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm a huge Python and particularly John Cleese fan. I think he's brilliant. So that's very cool.
I love Monty Python.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's
so awesome.
You do. It's just a very specific type of comedy because I remember watching that with certain people and I'm just laughing my ass off, and some people are just like,
"What are you
doing, man?"
Oh yeah, it's definitely some taste. Some people love it to death, and some people, I don't get it.
Coconuts.
Yeah. Listen, when you were talking about Earmax, it just made me think of that's so inventive, and your father was inventive as well. Where did he get the inspiration for the wah wah? You said that he created the wah wah pedal.
Well, he did it with. So my dad started the very first amplified instrument. He basically took a hearing aid and flipped it around, made it a microphone, and put it on his clarinet, and then started playing through an amp. So we went to the Thomas Organ Company, who owned Vox back in the day, the Vox guitar amps, all the Super Beetle amps.
I actually own
stuff.
a Vox wah wah pedal.
Right. So what happened is Brad Plunkett, who was really the engineer. I mean, my dad wasn't the engineer. He kind of came up with the idea and stuff and worked with them. But it was he worked with them there, and he went into Brad one day and he said, "Hey Brad, I'd like to make my saxophone sound like Clyde McCoy." And Clyde McCoy was a trumpet player that had a mute, and you put your hand over the mute and you go wah 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 wah. That was that thing. He said, "Can we do that with my clarinet?" So Brad went off and took a potentiometer and an old organ pedal and built that first wah-wah pedal. I remember when my dad brought it home that day. I can see myself in the living room right now playing my trumpet through it for the first time, which was crazy because it was designed originally for band instruments, not guitars.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable.
So it was so anyway, he did that. He put that together, and it was originally called the Clyde McCoy wah-wah pedal. That was the very first wah-wah pedal, and it was because of the wah-wah-wah, that trumpet thing, right? So from that, so here's a little thing. I actually just found a whole box of the records of the very first recording of the wah-wah, which was my dad, and it was originally recorded. The first wah-wah recording was on a bassoon.
Wow.
And was called the Wah Wah Doozy. And I just found a case of these things. I can't believe it. All these 45s of the original wah-wah pedal things. So, it's pretty. That was it. So he did that, and then he developed all the amplified instruments, the tone dividers, so that you could do all that. So that was, I grew up around all of that stuff, and so they built that studio. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Sound City. Anybody out there remember Sound City?
To be honest with you, I'm not familiar with Sound City.
Yeah, Dave Grohl, you can go look. There's a whole documentary about it that Dave Grohl did because he bought the Neve console.
Yes, I know. I knew that he had a documentary. I didn't know it was about that studio. Okay,
that studio,
cool.
Yeah. So that's I grew up in that studio, and originally, what he got wrong in the movies, he said that place was more of a warehouse, but that wasn't true. It was the actual studio because we used to record in there. It was actually the first drummer to record in there was Jeff Beccaro from Toto when we had our kid band. So we were the very first to record in that studio because my dad had us come in to test the equipment out once they built the studio. So all that history with Vox and all that crazy stuff, and
let me ask you. I don't know. I hope it's not an inappropriate question, but did your father live to see your success?
Oh yeah, my dad. He passed probably about 5 years ago. So it's been he was around the whole time. All the way through up to that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
it was
fantastic.
Good.
Amazing.
Actually, I think Zen Mix had some experience at that studio, if I'm not mistaken. One of our previous guests on the show.
Yeah, it's a crazy history of hit records that came. All those Fleetwood Mac, Nirvana records, a lot of stuff came out of that. And that console was really famous Neve. And like I said, Dave bought it, and then he did the documentary, moved that Neve into his studio. Yep.
Yeah. No, I need to watch that documentary because I've heard it's fantastic. I just didn't realize it was about that studio. I love Dave Grohl. So sad to hear about Taylor Hawkins'
that was a
tragedy.
Drag.
Yeah.
So sad. Yeah.
Sorry, go for it,
go ahead.
Scott.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, Bingus actually has a very good friend that he played in a band with back in the day that was very good friends with, Dave Grohl and everyone that,
he played some music with Taylor Hawkins. I'm friends with this guy that's a producer that's an amazing guitarist. He's played with a lot of people, but he was crushed, and it was terrible for everyone. That was a true tragedy.
He just seemed like such a light, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Nice guy. I mean, I got to know him a little bit through with Stephen Perkins, who plays in my band from Jane's Addiction. I don't know if you know Stephen.
Yeah.
He's the drummer. He was real good friends with Taylor, and Taylor was going to come do some shows with us. We've been doing my company Think Experience we've been doing a Think Floyd show in a 360-degree immersive dome in Los Angeles, a place called Wisdom. Did about 50 sold-out shows in that place. It's crazy.
Yeah, I remember we were sort of talking about that before the NFT LA party and all that. I was in the chat with you guys on the text messages before we did the NFT LA party, so I want to go to that place so bad. I saw your post of that as well on your Twitter page. I bet it was an absolute bash.
Oh yeah, that was great. That was a fun night, man. I was probably one of the best nights I think I've had in a long time as far as just the spirit and the vibe. And a big part of it was just having the whole NFT community there, and then doing Floyd with this incredible band. It was just the weather was great. It was an extraordinary night, definitely.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, Scott, I appreciate you giving us so much of your time. We don't want to, capitalize on your entire Saturday. So we do want to see if you'd be amenable to having a couple of questions from the audience before you go. Is that cool?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All
Definitely.
right, great. So if anyone in either the Discord or the Twitter space has any questions for Scott, now would be the time. We would love to have you up and have you ask a question. Let's see if we have any hands raised in either space.
Give it a solid minute. Sometime we talked about that fear. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right. Stop, think, where am I right now? What am I feeling?
I'm sitting here right now looking at my phone, watching, see who's on there.
Right.
All right. It doesn't seem like anyone's coming up. I think we've hit it, we've done it, and we had a
all
blast.
right. Yeah. No, listen, again, thank you so much, Scott, not only for coming on the show, but oh, wait, do we have someone?
We do, actually. We just got a request from Crypto Wizard 77.eth, the good old frog family.
Excellent. Crypto Wizard, are you up with us? Crypto Wizard, are you there?
Give him a minute. Oh, your mic's muted, fam.
There it goes. It took a sec to kick in.
No worries. Do your thing. What's going on? How's your day going?
Oh, pretty good. I'm not sure if it's the start of the day or the end of the day over here in Australia. It's 6 a.m. I keep missing these Sapo scratch tracks. I was pretty disappointed. I slept through my alarm for last week, so I'm really happy to have made this one. This was amazing. I didn't have a question or anything. Well, I probably do, but I just didn't think of it in time. I just wanted to come up and say, just thanks for sharing and being here. This was just an amazing experience. So, yeah, thanks again. It was great.
Dude, I can't believe it. All the way from Australia at 6 a.m. You're my hero.
Frog fam is real. The frog fam is real, Scott.
Rivet. Love it.
Yeah, and from Sapo Studios, man, we'd like to thank you for setting an alarm to wake up to listen to the show, man. That's amazing.
We should send him a recording of the intro, and that can be the sound of the alarm.
Yeah.
I actually pulled an all-nighter this time. I didn't want to miss this one. So last week I slept through the alarm. This week I had an evening nap, and I stayed up all night doing some coding, and came for the tunes, stayed for the philosophy and life advice.
Awesome.
We definitely need to give Crypto Wizard over here a shout out for pulling an all-nighter, putting in the work, building, and then being like, you know what, I want to hop into space. I love it, man. Thank you so much for stopping in.
Thank you, guys.
What I love about the community, man, everybody's really pumped. It's so great. I mean, it's such the energy that comes out of this community is fantastic.
Yeah, and another thing that I've commented on is the fact that you do meet people from all over the world, which is the other fascinating part of this, right? I mean, I've been in the Discord chatting with people at 2 in the morning my time, and it's the middle of the day where they are in some other part of the world, and it's unbelievable how it's bringing people together.
Yeah. It's great.
It looks like we have another.
We have a couple more speakers.
We have another speaker that would like to maybe ask you a couple questions here, Scott. It's Diverse, the female beat maker. Digging the name. What's going on? Thank you for joining us.
Hi guys, you're welcome. How you doing? Hope you're cool. Hi.
Hello there.
Pops. I'm just here. I'm just coming to bring flowers. Do you know what I'm saying? I've been over to Discord a few times. I do these live beat making on these shows and stuff, not on your show, but myself, and it's not easy, but you guys do tend to make it look easy. It's a lovely community as well, very chill, love that kind of stuff, and I'm just here to say keep up the fabulous work, and whoever's in the room that don't have a frog, don't forget, buy a frog, get land. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? It's going to be the best land, and we got the best frogs here, so yeah, that's it. Just keep up the fantastic work, and I really do hope one day to also be on your panel.
We'd love to have you.
I was about to say, we'd love to do a collaboration with you and feature you, so shoot us a DM.
Yeah, definitely go ahead and send us a message, and we'll get something going. That'd be great.
Yeah, I just gave you a follow, and everyone, if you don't mind, we're all big fam in here. Just follow everyone in the space right now. It looks like we have a legendary, if diverse female beat maker. If you don't have anything else to say, I'm going to move on over to Don Love, who has his hand up, if that's okay.
Nah, that's fine. I'm just sending you all the flowers. Just keep up the fabulous work, guys. Love you bad. Thank you so much.
Really appreciate that. And the love is so kind of you, and we do this for the community as much as we do it for ourselves. So thank you so much.
Absolutely, Don Love. What's going on, fam?
Yeah. So I actually had a question for Scott. Something I've been meaning to ask you for a while. So there was this tour that with when Roger Waters went on tour early 2000s. I'm wondering if you were with him on that at all.
Yeah, no, Roger. I'm on the Gilmore side again.
Yeah, that's a very divisive split.
Yeah, there's definitely.
Okay, I didn't know the history, but just because I went to that when I was 17.
Right. Yeah, that was the whole thing. It's actually a funny story. Is when we were out doing the Momentary Lapse of Reason tour, a couple of us went to Roger's show. He was doing what was it, the Hitchhikers, or I forget which one of his. I can't remember which show, and we actually got thrown out. They found out we were there.
No way.
Out.
But and you joined the band just after his departure, right?
Yeah, I came. I started the. I was in the Gilmore camp starting from that. Yeah.
Right.
86 to 92, kind of that time frame.
Yep.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. That's unfortunate, but yeah, continue, guys.
All right. Thank you so much for listening today. I really appreciate you coming out.
Yeah, Don Love, much appreciated. Digging everything you guys are building over there. The last town hall was epic. So looking forward to the 18th. Everyone here, if you're listening, you buy a Notorious Frog, you will get a land drop on the 18th from one of the biggest top tier teams, I would say, in the entire NFT space. I'm not shilling, but I'm shilling. All right.
People are sleeping.
Yeah, for real. Anyways,
listen, Frogland. Just had to say, Frogland and what they're building is extraordinary. I mean, you can look at all these metaverses. These guys are killing it right now.
Unparalleled.
I mean, that engineering team is. Ed put together the most incredible engineering group.
They're brilliant. They're also amazing people.
Yeah, they're just
unbelievable. Yeah.
Well, let's keep them humble, guys, so they keep working.
I'm so thankful to be part of this community and watch it grow.
Speaking of which, how did you and Ed meet?
We met at DecentralCon in Miami.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. It sounds like Ed's meeting everyone in Miami. That's great.
I want to go to Miami.
Yes.
But one thing I will say is that I was on a music video shoot about like a week and a half ago, and I was talking with the camera assistant, and he and I were talking about NFTs. And then all of a sudden, during one of the breaks, he walks up to me and he's like, "Man, check this out! Like, I was at this NFT LA party. I got to meet this guy Scott Page." I'm like, oh, I actually heard about him through Frogland and whatnot. And then literally like 2 days later, we get a message from Matt talking about that you're going to be on our show. And I feel like
this kid
that's pretty unbelievable. And like,
the universe works in mysterious ways.
Yeah, Shia Papoose, everyone has some weird connection to the universe that is just, I don't understand it at all.
Constantly manifesting.
Yeah,
things.
it's weird, but also it's awesome, because I just ride his coattails and it works out. So
it's very interesting, man. And then like a couple weeks later, here you are when we're playing music together.
Right? Look at this. That was a sweet jam too. Like Shia said, we'll probably try to send that over to our mixer and see what he can do, play with it, maybe get some stuff going.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, whenever you have time, no rush. Just send over the stems, man.
For sure.
Anyways, we appreciate everyone stopping by. Thank you so much. Diverse, the female beat maker, will definitely get in contact with you. Crypto Wizard, Don Love, Notorious Frogs, thank you for giving us the opportunity to be here. Without you, we would not be here. It is Notorious Frogs, then Sapo Studios. We love you. Lollihops, we all love you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I want to do one real quick plug. If anybody's in NYC, NFT NYC, definitely look me up. You can find all my social. It's IAM Scott Page.
Yes.
Instagram. You find me. Hit me up. Come out and see what we're doing. And then we're also doing Future Shape 360 in July, which is going to be incredible in Denver. Dead Mouse is going to be doing this whole thing. So yeah, definitely check out Future Shape. If you're a builder and you really want to get in the game, you might want to think about joining the 360 group. It's going to be incredible. So anyway, I'm just giving a big shout out. Everybody, I love to talk to everybody, so connect up. I'm there. Just hit me up.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for being so humble, Scott. It's really great to talk to someone of your stature and for them to be a real person.
Yeah, man. And taking the time to talk to us.
That's what we are. We're real people.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
Taking the time to talk to us, taking the time to lay down some tracks, man. We are greatly appreciative.
Yeah, and I'll do some more. I'm going to, send me some more tracks. I'll make some more for you because it's kind of fun. So I'll do the ones that you sent me too, and I'll get those over to you. And I'll send you all the stems and stuff so you can take them and play with them, mix them, mash them, twist them, freak them around.
Fantastic.
Awesome, man.
All right. Well, this has been an amazing Sapo Saturday for us. Thank you to our audience for tuning in today. Like A-Bomb said, I want to echo that. Thank you to the Frogland team, without whom we wouldn't be here. And thank you again to Scott Page for taking all this time with us today. It was truly a pleasure.
Well, thank you for having me, man. I'm like, listen, I want to be in the community, so call me anytime, man. I'm there.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely jam with you some more. We'll have you back on the show. And listen, you're a legendary frog now, so you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm not.
And everyone check in on Scott's stuff because obviously he's doing some pretty awesome IRL experiences that are connected to NFTs. And I know everyone's like, well, what's the utility? So there you go. Some pretty dope experiences that Scott's got lined up all over the map of the U.S.
Yep.
It seems like.
Keep an eye out for his project Rock Money, where he's collaborating with Arthur J. Williams, coming out soon.
Very good. Love y'all.
All right, much
Thank
love,
you.
everybody.
Have a great Saturday.
Studios is out.
Thank you.